All right, welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It's time to talk, what else? The NFL Draft. We move on from
1 week away.
One week away. Thankfully, we could stop speculating soon, and we'll find out who the Browns actually draft. But here's one of the experts at speculating at what might happen. He does a 7-round mock draft, which honestly, he could be making up players by the 7th round, and 95% of us, myself included, wouldn't know the difference. Ryan Wilson of CBS Sports. Have you ever tried that, Ryan? Like, just make up a name, throw them in, especially like a stupid fan base like the Jets or whatever. You can throw them in there. And
I've found in my experience that if you start making up stuff in this line of work, you're not going to be in this line of work very long.
That's a fair point.
But I will say to your point, fans will get angry about things they didn't know they were supposed to be angry about with names they had never heard of just because someone else told them to be angry about it. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, no doubt. Like they'll be, exactly. Why did Ryan Wilson have the Browns drafting a fullback in the 7th round? What the hell is wrong with him? I mean, that's just crazy. When was it that you started doing a 7-round mock draft? By the way, like that's some in-depth knowledge.
I used to do it for CBSSports.com. Now, thankfully, with the podcast, you may see it there with the first pick.
Yeah.
We're doing a 7-round live mock draft. It's actually today at 3 p.m.
Okay.
It'll be on YouTube at NFL on CBS. So I'm spreading around the joy. But good. I start like the summer scouting stuff, obviously in the summer. And by the time I get to this point, I'm close to 500 guys in, and if you're going to do this, you got to know who you're talking about. So I enjoy it. It's a labor of love for sure. But to your larger point, once you get into round 7, man, anything can happen.
Yeah. All right, let's go. Well, let's start. I want to get deep into this draft, but let's start at the beginning where the Browns will pick at 6. Obviously, there's a lot of rumblings that they could trade down, but who knows? I think the general consensus here in Cleveland, right or wrong, is that we'd like them to take Carnell Tate at 6. I think the majority of people feel that way. Do you agree with that? Do you think he will definitely be there? So what's your thoughts on that in general?
Yeah, no, he should be there. I like Carnell Tate a lot. I thought he got so much better from 2024 to 2025. And, people like to say, yeah, but he was playing with Jeremiah Smith. Well, if you watched Ohio State last year, you didn't know who the legit, quotation marks, wide receiver 1 was because Carnell played at such a high level. When you talk to folks in the league, and this isn't original, but my comp for Carnell was T. Higgins coming out, and they're similar in that they're obviously big contested catch receivers, but they also didn't run super fast 40 times during the pre-draft process. That actually cost T. Higgins a likely spot in the first round. I think Carnell ran 4.53 or whatever. I thought he played faster than that. But when you have the T. Higgins comp, the issue when you talk to scouts is that, okay, are you taking T. Higgins with the top 10 pick? And I would argue that if you knew then what you know now about T. Higgins, you just might. And I think if it's close and you think that Carnell's going to get you over the hump, and they certainly need help in the wide receiver room in Cleveland, you take him at 6. Now, I've also heard that Cleveland, and this isn't a revelation, they'd like offensive line at some point in the first round, maybe 2 times in the top 3 or 4 picks. So I think the conversation for me is Carnell Tate at 6, or if there's an offensive lineman you love there that you think can come in right away and help whoever the quarterback's going to be, maybe that's consideration.
Ryan, how you been, man? Long time no see. Appreciate you hopping on with us. The plus and minuses you see next to that graphic were how Ryan ranks the players versus the consensus. So you can see some players.
What that was.
Yeah, I was going to call for that graphic and explain it beforehand. We took it. It's all good. But that is Ryan's ranking versus the consensus. Those were some of the Browns' targets we talked about. Kadyn Proctor, Malioa, I pronounce his name wrong every time. Monroe Freeling, who you're not nearly as high on. Tate, you're a little lower on than consensus. So whether it's Tate, Freeling, Proctor, tackle, whoever you want to go with at 6, why are you a little lower on Tate and some of those guys than maybe the overall general draft community?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason is this. A lot of times we love these wide receivers, and understandably so, but they end up getting pushed down when the draft actually happens. Think about a few years ago. The first wide receiver off the board was Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think that was the 2023 draft. He went 20th. And the concerns about Jackson were he had a hamstring issue, and then I was at that pro day, and he ran 4.51. And folks were like, okay, that's good. It's not 4.3. And anyway, so he goes 20th, and then 3 wide receivers go right after him, Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnson, and Jordan Addison in some order. And I would argue that JSN is probably better than Carnell Tate, knowing what I know now. But if they were coming out at the same time, it may have been a little closer. So that's the only reason I have him just outside the top 10, I think. Also, I think there's more value at offensive line, not just for the Browns, but in general when you're trying to protect your quarterback and so on and so forth. But this offensive line class has a lot of variability at the tackle position especially, and right tackle is probably a little better than left tackle. And if, typically we consider the left tackle the premium position. All that is to say, if I were at 6, and I've talked to people at Georgia that think Monroe Freeland's probably closer to a 15 to 32 range guy as opposed to a top 10 guy. If you're okay with Kadyn Proctor in terms of the weight concerns, and the only reason I didn't have him going to Cleveland in my 3-round mock draft was because of the DeJuan Jones weight concerns. Yep. I would take Kadyn Proctor. I think he is has a chance to be special. Now, you have to get him focused play in and play out because that was the knock on him. Being that size and that athletic, he didn't always dominate. And if you can get the best out of him, you're comfortable with that, I would take him at 6, and then I think there'll be some wide receivers at 24. Maybe even you trade up a spot or two if there's someone that you truly love for Cleveland to get a wide receiver with that second first-round pick.
I want to go back to the T. Higgins comp for a second. I just wonder, because we've had sort of this conversation on the show as well, what's T. Higgins without Jamar Chase, and what's Carnell Tate without Jeremiah Smith? And is that a legitimate concern of if you don't have – I mean – God bless Jerry Jeudy. He's not in the class of Jeremiah Smith or T. Higgins. So who are you when you were away from the guy that has all the oxygen in the room?
Yeah, and that's a great point, and that's something that you certainly have to consider, and I would imagine those conversations are being had. And, it's fair, and that's part of the reason why I lean towards offensive line at 6. And then at 24, you'll probably have to trade up for Mekhi Lemon, but I think Casey Concepcion gets you 95% of the way to Mekhi Lemon, for example, or Omar Cooper Jr., for example, could be an option out of Indiana. And there's probably room for more than one wide receiver in this draft based on the current situation in the Browns wide receiver room. I mean, Jerry Jeudy is, for being honest, he's probably a 2, maybe even a 3. Ced Tillman's probably a 3. Isaiah Bond was relied on a lot last year as an undrafted free agent because of the off-field stuff. So I think you could draft 2 wide receivers that would have an opportunity to play. And you may be in a situation where you don't have a legit number 1, whether it's Carnell Tate at 6 or whether it's Omar Cooper Jr. or Casey Concepcion or whomever at 24. But those are certainly important conversations to have because we've seen wide receivers come into the league with a ton of fanfare and struggle. And a lot of times they struggle because the same reasons quarterbacks struggle. You put them on a bad team and don't have a lot of help around them, and then you get upset that they're not doing what they did in college when they were running past everyone because they were the best athletes on the field.
And the main reason, Ryan, that the Browns have been a bad team for the last 30 years is because they've had bad quarterbacks for the most part. There are some people in Cleveland that are very high on Shedeur Sanders. I'm interested in giving him a chance because there doesn't seem like a better option. But I don't. If I had to bet, I would bet he's not the long-term answer for the Browns. If the Browns decide to take a quarterback on the 3rd day of the draft, who do you like in that 4th to 7th round that you think of all of them, if any, has potential upside to be the best chance to be a starter?
I think I'm laughing because I've had this, this internal struggle. I think I've come full circle on Carson Beck, which is always a funny thing to say out loud, because he left Georgia not under the greatest circumstances. And people at Georgia will tell you they were not sad to see the Lamborghini, head south down I-95. And then he got to Miami, and I think it was a chance for him to step back and sort of humble himself and realize that he has to perhaps change who he is as a leader. And I think he did a lot of that. He's what you want in a pocket passer. He's incredibly smart. He's 6'5", 230, so he has a big arm. His arm is fine after the injury at Georgia. He is prone to making mistakes when the game's on the line, and that's why he's probably going to be late day 2, more likely early day 3 pick. But if you're asking me whether it's him or Garrett Nussmeier or Cade Klubnik or Drew Aller, I feel the best, quotation marks, about Carson Beck doing what you ask him to do if he has to start for 2 or 3 or 4 games. Cade Klubnik's undersized, and he struggled last year. He struggles to play on time. Drew Aller is the most frustrating player in this draft class because you want to love everything about him, and he just cannot put it together. He did get hurt over the second half of the season. That's not his fault, but it's so frustrating to watch him because of the God-given talents he has that he has just yet to put together. And then Garrett Nussmeier is undersized. I joked at times last year that he was playing like he was trying to get Brian Kelly fired, in which case he crushed it. But they're concerned about his ability to take care of the football. And I understand that he was banged up, and I'm willing to give him that grace. But day 3 quarterbacks, you're certainly taking a flyer anyway. I think there's nothing wrong with always drafting a day 3 quarterback just in case. Yeah. But and the Browns have shown they're okay drafting multiple quarterbacks in one class, and maybe that's something that we see on day 3 here even.
Yeah. What is your thoughts on right now on Shedeur Sanders' future?
So I'm with you. I don't know if it's going to be a long-term situation. And the issues with Shedeur, and I thought he was worst case going to be a top 50 pick, so I'm not going to make up a story and said that I knew he was going to fall as far as he did. But the issue with Shedeur, and we saw this early on in his time in Cleveland, he did get better, but he doesn't play on time. And then when the first read isn't there, he's running for his life out of clean pockets, doesn't have the best arm. And look, here's what I heard. I heard that he could have worked harder in preparation. Now, maybe that isn't true, but that's what I heard. And it appeared to be the case when you watched him play. So I think that if he's willing to refocus and take this seriously as a very important job that he has, there's an opportunity for him to have success. But he is not going to be a traits guy that steps off the bus and can do he can't do Josh Allen things, for example. He can't do Lamar Jackson things. So he has to be perfect essentially every time he drops back with the ball. And there's a lot that goes into that. Offensive line, playmakers, a wide receiver. We've talked about that. But I think it's going to be a tough stretch, because it's a tough stretch for every single quarterback drafted in the first round to have success in the NFL unless you land in Kansas City, for example.
Ryan, we talked about 6. Let's look at 24 and 39 here. If the Browns do go offensive line early, I think we're all on the assumption at some point they're going to take a receiver with one of their next 2 or 3 picks. You're a lot higher on a guy, Denzel Boston, than some others. You seem to be right along the same consensus with Casey Concepcion, Mark Cooper, and that next tier of receivers. So whether it's 24, whether it's 39, could Boston be in play for Cleveland in that spot, or is that too much of a reach?
Yeah, I think the issue with Denzel, he didn't run at the combine, didn't run at the pro day, and the old saying, fast guys run, that tells you probably all you need to know. He's probably going to be a 4.55 guy, and you don't want to necessarily put that out there in black and white. I love his game, though, and I thought he played so much faster than that. He's 6'3" and change. He had a punt return touchdown last year as a 6'3" punt returner. So he has open field wiggle. He can run through arm tackles. I thought he created separation down the field. But the speed is a real concern, and the teams have the GPS data, so they can just determine for themselves how much they like Denzel. Now, 24 may be high. He might be more likely to be on the board with that second-round pick. Another name I'll throw out at you that I love this young man. I just wrote about him. I talked to him a couple weeks ago for CBS Sports. Is Jeremy Bernard, the wide receiver out of Alabama. I think he's the best route runner in this class. And I do the podcast with Rand Carthon, the former Titans GM, and his comp for him is Chris Godwin. So he's not a number 1, but he's a number 1A or number 2, and he can patrol the middle of the field. He's one of the best blockers in this class at wide receiver. He is always where the quarterback expects him to be, and there's no better friend for a young quarterback outside of an offensive line than a wide receiver that's going to be where you expect him to be. And I think we're undervaluing him now because he's not running 4.3s. He's not 6'4.5", but he is such a good NFL receiver, and there's really no better compliment you can pay someone coming coming into the draft. So Denzel Boston I like better than Jeremy Bernard, but if you told me that the Browns got Jeremy Bernard in the second round, that would be probably secretly one of the best picks in this draft.
Ryan, I have a bad habit of making people very, very angry. And one of the things that makes people very, very angry is I say in this draft I would like to see the Browns trade down as far as they have to go to get a 27 first-round pick. I don't care, because I just don't love this draft. And I think next year, and I don't think this team's close to winning, and they got too many holes, quarterback, on and on and on. Will we see a 27 first traded in this draft, do you believe? And how far, realistically, is it even an option for the Browns? How far would they have to go to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting much worse to make me angry, so I appreciate that. I'm not pushing back on that, because look, we saw Andrew Berry do it last year. And by the way, the Browns won that trade, right? If it comes to the point where the Jaguars trade up to 2 to get a cornerback, I don't know if that's ever happened in the history of the NFL draft if Travis isn't going to play wide receiver. This year's a little different, of course. It's going to be the same in terms of the quarterbacks. 1, maybe 2 come off the board. And if you're sitting there at 6, if Jeremiah Love's there, I don't know if the Browns would consider him, but there will be interest in Jeremiah Love at 6. We'll see if he gets past Tennessee and New York, in which case you can certainly trade down. And the thing is, typically when teams trade up for a quarterback, you can charge a premium as the team moving down. There might be a premium for someone like Jeremiah Love as well, because if you get that phone call, you know someone's not coming up for Ty Simpson at 6. So it's probably going to be someone like a Jeremiah Love, should he be there. And it also, the leverage increases because you would imagine that the Commanders at 7 would like to get Jeremiah Love. So there is a chance there. It's just a matter of whether it's a team like the Rams, for example, who a few years ago were trying to trade up to get Brock Bowers, and they will do all sorts of stuff that seem to be zigging when everyone else zags. I think it'll be close to get that 27 first-round pick. But here's the thing, man. I'm not pushing back on that because we say every year and every year we fall for it. We'll just wait till next year because the quarterback class is so great. Next year's quarterback class might be historic. Might also only have 2 guys. Might have Arch Manning if he figures it out, and Dante Moore. And then we're stuck in the same conversation where, we were waiting. A bunch of guys got fired because we won 3 football games. And, by the way, we're not getting the quarterback as well. But I think the Jeremiah Love thing is what comes to mind first in terms of an opportunity to trade down and really stick it to the team that's trying to trade up and get a draft haul out of it.
Real quick, 30 seconds. You mentioned Ty Simpson. Where do you think he goes?
So I don't think he goes 16 to the Jets. The Steelers at 21 become interesting. If he gets past there, then I think the Jets at 33, the Cardinals at 34, maybe the Steelers at 50. They pick in the 50s. Maybe they move up to pick 31 or 32 and try to snag him there. I think he's a first-round talent. It's just going to be interesting given his size and the injury concerns.
Yeah. And, Ryan, I got to know who the Bengals, who have blown it in free agency, spending very little on their defense, which needs work, who you got them at taking at 10?
I would take Caleb Downs. I know that he help at edge rusher, but he's a locker room changer, and he reminds me a little bit of Troy Polamalu. I know that's crazy, but I think he's going to be that good.
Wow. They should absolutely take him. I love it. They'll probably take some corner from Eastern Michigan University with the 10th pick with their 2 scouts. Ryan, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Ryan.
He's a Bengals fan if you didn't know.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
Appreciate you, Ryan.
Ryan Wilson of CBS Sports. Great breakdown of the NFL draft and what's coming up. And
They're doing a live 7-round mock at 3 p.m. today.
yeah, that's cool.
Live
Check it
7-round
out.
mock. It's with the first pick. It's his podcast.
Yeah.
With
Will he wait
with Rand
10
Carthon.
minutes between picks?
No.
Like,
Definitely not. Definitely not. Like
can you imagine?
Yeah.
Make a pick and then sit there on camera for 10 minutes
yeah.
waiting to make another
and
one?
Just discuss that pick. You see there, speaking of live, the Ultimate Cleveland Draft Show next Thursday, 1 week from today, we will be live 7:30 to 11 p.m. on WKYC Plus. The first half hour will be from the WKYC main studio, and then we will be down here from 8 to 11 live. Myself, Jason, and G. Bush will react to both of the Browns picks, assuming they do have 2 picks. Who knows? If they trade with the Cowboys, they could end up having 3 first-round picks potentially because the Cowboys have 2. So whatever happens, we will be on live from the start of the draft till 11 p.m. It's going to be a fun day 1 week from today. Speaking of fun, the Cavs hopefully will be giving us a lot of fun in the playoffs. They start their playoff series with the Raptors Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Mikey McNuggets has a 5-pack, should be a 6-pack, but a 5-pack of that.
It is a 6-pack this week.
Oh, it is? For this series, we'll get into it next on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.